One important component of a Sherlock analysis is the life cycle. The life cycle defines all of the loads that the board will endure throughout the various phases of its life. The life cycle settings can be found under the project under this lifecycle tab. I can right click on this lifecycle tab here, go to edit properties, and in here I can name my lifecycle, define and write its description or add any notes, as well as define the reliability metric and the service life for my board. For reliability metric, I can define that as a probability of failure, a reliability percentage, MTBF, or FIT. For service life, I can define how long I want my board to last and what goals it needs to meet. If I expand this tab here, you'll see that my life cycle is made up of 4 phases. This is a generic life cycle that I've created. It has a shipping phase, and if I expand that, you'll see that during the shipping phase, we have some random vibration in X, Y, and Z, as well as a shipping temperature cycle. If I double click on the random vibration life cycle here, you can see it opens up here for us. Within the random vibration editor, you can name the random vibration event, give it a description, as well as choose some settings here. So the duration and the number of times that this occurs. We can also choose the load settings as well for this random vibration. And lastly, the profile and loading direction of this vibration. I've got it here in the X direction. I can also edit this profile that's here. I can do that through the input of information as a table here, or I can actually click and drag the points on my screen here to edit this profile. If I click apply and save, it'll update this event for me. I can also load in a profile from external data as either a .dat or a .csv. So if I already have a shipping profile, I can read that in directly into Sherlock. I've also got a shipping temperature cycle here, and if I double click on that, you'll see that we have a small temperature cycle, a diurnal temperature cycle, as the board is being shipped. So you see it starts off here, the temperature increases, and then it drops off again. Once again, I can edit this profile by editing it here in this table here to define the hold and the ramp temperatures. My next phase is my environmental phase. During this phase, I have another environment temperature cycle, and if I double click on that, it's another diurnal temperature cycle as the board sits in its environment. So we see that the temperature remains steady at 10 degrees Celsius here, and then it ramps up into the 30s and then back down again at night. Within the temperature cycle, I can also determine when it occurs and how often it occurs. In this case, I've got it operating at 100% duty cycle. I have another phase here when my board is working. While it's working, there's another temperature cycle, one that's much more complex, that occurs over a much shorter period of time, just during the operation of the equipment the board is mounted in. I also have a harmonic vibration that you can see here if I double click on that. And once again, we can set the load and the vibration settings here, as well as editing the profile, either through the table or by clicking and dragging on the graph, if we want to do that. We also have the option to load in a profile if I already have a harmonic vibration profile, once again as a .data file or .csv. Lastly, I have a maintenance phase here, where parts within the component are being changed, and during that time, the board may experience some shock events. So I have a shock event here that I've defined. If I double click on that, you can see the time and the load of the shock. The time is a very short period of time, it's a transient load. We also have the loading settings as well as the event setting, how often it occurs. And once again, I can load my profile in externally from a .dat or a .csv, or I can create it directly in Sherlock and edit it here, where I can define how this load looks by inputting values into this table on the left here. If you're unsure as to how to create your own life cycle, we actually have a very good webinar on our website. So if you go to your web browser and go to dfrsolutions.com, in this top search bar, you can type in lifecycle. And there's a webinar called Defining Sherlock Lifecycle Environment. If you click on that, there is a full 45-minute webinar that goes through how to complete and generate your own life cycle. Along with that, we have the